So if you want to be able to essentially create your own plugins right inside of your DAW, you can use this awesome plugin here by Waves called StudioRack. And so the way this works is you load up different plugins here. Now, since this is by Waves, it's designed to be used with all the Waves plugins. But even if you don't have any Waves plugins, you can still use this with third-party plugins so long as they are VST3s. So if you have VST3 versions of third-party plugins installed on your computer, you can also use these inside of StudioRack. By the way, if you want to try this out for yourself, I have a link to this in the description below, or just go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/StudioRack. So anyway, you got your plugins loaded up in here, and then you can create these different macros based on different parameters on these plugins. So to keep this really simple for you, I created my own plugin here. I mean, you're not really creating your own plugin. You're creating really a plugin chain, but I feel like you're almost like creating your own plugin here. So you can, to make this simple, I used all the one knob plugins here by Waves. These are really nice plugins. A lot of times I'll end up using several of them. And so this is nice because I can just put them all in one place here. And I can easily control, with automation, these different macros here. So for example, I've got driver here. And so this is synced to the driver here, but I could add other parameters to this. So I can right click on this and learn. I can add other parameters from different plugins I have loaded in here. So you load in your plugins and then you assign them to macros, or you don't have to. You don't even have to use the macros. You can just have the plugins here and you got this plugin chain saved that you can reload later. But I think the real power here is in being able to use these macros. And so I've got all these different plugins in here, and then I've got one place where I can control all of these instead of having to have the screen filled with all these different plugins pulled up. I just got one here. And so I've got this on these chords here. So if I listen to this, we can play with these different knobs. So we're using the filter automation there. You can add more reverb with wetter. Add some compression. So that's pretty cool, but that's just like one example there. Another place where I used this was on my bass here. We'll listen to this without StudioRack in and then with it in. And as you can see before and after, the biggest thing you hear is it sounds a lot louder when you have this in, but if you look at the meter over here, it's actually not increasing in volume. In fact, it's just becoming more consistent, which makes it sound louder. And that is because of some of the plugins we have loaded in here. So for example, that would probably be the compressor here mainly. And so I've got the input and the output assigned to macros here, so you can see these in red. I've also got some saturation in here. So I've got the beauty and the beast controls set here to the macros, along with the bass relief for like tightening up the low end if I want to. And so you can see as I move one of the macros, it moves the controls in the plugin. And then I have 3 different like EQ regions mapped in here too. So for bass, that's these really low frequencies down here. It's like sub bass really. And then I have buzz up here. So if I want to help the bass cut through the mix a little bit more, I can use that. And then I have growl here, which is kind of a little bit muddier. And I was kind of cutting that here. So this is really cool. So I'll move these controls around a bit and see what this allows us to do. So that sounds pretty good to me. A lot tighter, a lot fuller, and it really cuts through here. I'm going to listen to it with the drums in. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And then you can obviously save this. So I could go to save as, and I could call this my bass. And so there's so much you can do with this, right? There's so many more you can add. You can add plugins in sequence like I've been doing here. You can do a multi-band split, which is really cool. Before I do, I just want you to know that I have a free mixing cheat sheet that you can grab in the description below. This walks you through a proven step-by-step mixing system so you can produce professional radio quality music from home each and every time, and it allows you to finish more mixes faster so you have more music to release. Again, that's in the description below, or you can go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/mixing checklist. I can put like different regions in here and put different plugins that only affect certain regions. So if maybe I only wanted to add saturation or something in this range, I can come in here, maybe just pull in one knob driver and just bump this up like that. So you can hear it's adding a little extra energy just to that range. Shrink this range down, or we can make this range a little bigger to be like between 1000 hertz and 4000. And of course we could add this to a macro as well. So how much this one knob is increasing, we could add that to a macro if we wanted. So that's just really cool. So much power, so much flexibility, and it's why I say this is almost like creating your own plugin. On top of that, you can also have parallel splits. So this would be like where you want to add your wet effects so that they're not happening in sequence, but you can mix in different ingredients as you want. So, you know, if you wanted to add in a delay here, and you could add in a reverb here, and now you have these different effects that you can now blend into the track as needed. Pretty cool. And this shows you there's so much possibilities here inside of StudioRack. It's a really awesome plugin, and it's definitely something that can make your life a whole lot easier while mixing. So I definitely recommend it. Again, check it out, the link in the description below to get it, or go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/StudioRack. With that, remember, grab my free mixing checklist in the description below. This will show you a proven step-by-step process for how to produce radio-worthy tracks from home each and every time so you can finish more music faster. And if you want more help finishing pro-quality music faster, then be sure to click the video playing on the screen right now. With that, have an awesome day and keep creating.